Now, here with us today is Toni Bergins, a renowned movement artist. She's an embodiment coach, and we're going to ask about what that really means later. And she's the founder of Journey Dance. And so, for over 27 years, she has taught at some of the world's leading holistic healing centers, including the Kripala, I think that's how you say it, the Kripalu Center,
Perfect. Yes.
okay, for yoga and health, where she has guided countless individuals toward self discovery and transformation through movement. And so Toni is the author of her newly released book. Her book is called Embody, Feel, Heal, and Transform Your Life Through Movement. Now, in her book, she breaks down decades of experience into powerful tools for using movement to process emotions, heal past trauma, and cultivate self acceptance and a positive body image. And so today, Toni is with us. She will share her professional journey, talk about her newest book, discuss the healing power of movement, and offer insights into how we can use expressive movement to reconnect with our true selves, to
Mm.
release limiting beliefs, because we have those too, and to also embrace personal transformation. So, how are you today, Toni?
Oh, I'm so excited to be with you. Thank you so much for having me on your show. I feel super honored to be here with the two doctors.
And what do you say, Dr. D?
Welcome. Welcome. We're happy to have you.
Yeah,
Thank you. I really that introduction really made me feel like I got something to say.
and you do.
And
Yeah.
I've heard you. I've listened to some of your interviews.
Oh, I'm so glad. I hope they were inspiring in some
They were.
way.
They
Oh,
were.
good.
Yes, they were. And so thank you so much.
Well,
Well,
thank you for inspiring so many people and with what you do and, putting this kind of work out there is it's just so important and powerful. So I'm just grateful to be able to be part of something where I can help people in any way possible.
yes, and we appreciate you. But first, let's share. I want you to share your personal story and how it inspired you to dedicate your career to embodiment
Mm.
and movement. And then you can just tell us, what that really means to you.
Yeah, I mean, I know the word embodiment is buzzing around and everyone's using it. And it's like, what does that mean? Of course, we're in a body. Of course, we have a body. What does that mean? So for me, embodiment, the reason why I chose to make the book called Embody is because it's about being the thing you want to be, not just talking about it, not just thinking about it, but actually becoming it. Emanating it, radiating it, sharing it with the world, the energy of you. And it's really embodiment to me is three things. It's embodiment, it's energy, and it's emotions. So for me as a young person, I grew up in a certain type of environment. There was a lot of stuff going on in my family, like any other family, and I developed my own patterns that were not very positive of how I dealt and how I coped with the world. I had eating disorders. I had bad self-esteem. I had, some trauma along the way. And I kind of shut down and just became like, I'm going to just be a corporate, I'm going to go work in New York and be a corporate person. And I tried that. And I just was feeling very unfulfilled by that, even though I had a cool job and all that stuff. But something was missing for me. And I found it when I discovered dance, which was actually later in life. I always loved to dance, as a young person. I loved to move and do, my water bottle fell over. Sorry. Love to dance and do all kinds of fun movement. But to really dance in a personal, deep way where I'm investigating my own feelings was not something I ever did before. And that happened to me at Kripalu, which is, the place that I've been teaching ever since because I just loved it so much. It's like a kind of a safe haven for people who are seeking spiritual growth. So I went there seeking spiritual growth. I was like, I got to figure myself out because why am I not happy? I have this beautiful body. I have this potential that anything could happen. I could create a life. I was in my early 20s and I said, I got to figure myself out. So I went thinking I was going to do yoga and meditation, but I ended up dancing and just crying and just being reunited with my body is the way I describe it. It was like I was living in what I call in the book the escape hatch. Like I wasn't really here. I was sort of just automatically going through life. I wasn't really living and taking like that bite out of life, that they say, I wasn't in the moment. I wasn't present in my body. I wasn't present in my emotions or my I was shutting everything down, stuffing it. You can't think that, you can't talk that, you got to be perfect. All the perfectionism junk that we all imbibe from the culture, which is changing, which is so great because now there's so many more ways to be accepted. But at that time, it was a very specific type of culture. So that's really how it all happened for me. And then once I did this dance, I realized like I had to change my life and I just became obsessed with all things dance. And then I went on a dance, you know, diet. I just discovered every kind of dance. I danced in New York. I danced all over every studio in New York I went to. I did so many kinds of dance. I just was like, what is this? Why is this so amazing? And I think the body is so wise and so beautiful and such an expressor and such a way of feeling emotions without um, necessarily just the emotional tension of anger, of grief, of sadness, of fear, of joy, of pain. Like you can do it through dance, and it's just a different language. So I guess really my language is dance.
Yes. So,
If that makes any sense.
yeah, hey, because I was going to ask, since you said you were in New York and you did a lot of dance, did you try West African dance? Did you try
I
African?
did.
Yeah.
I did. I danced at Ferretta, which was a big studio down there. Did West African, did Afro Haitian. That was one of my favorites because those
Yeah.
stories that are told in there are so amazing. The West African is a lot more physical and a lot harder and amazing. And I studied with so many different teachers. And then I studied modern and I did a couple of Limon. I did jazz. I just went for it. I was in this one building
Yeah.
downtown in Soho. It had like every studio was another floor of dance. And I would just go crazy there for 2 years. And then I ended up moving away to a different whole world of dance, which was in Massachusetts, where contact improvisation was found, which is another form of dance that I studied for years. And it just changed my whole life of
Yeah. Improv.
embodiment. Yeah.
Yes. Well, that's good because yeah, even though Dr. Vicki Doe exercise physiology, I also teach dance at
Yes.
the university. Not now, not teaching now. We still go periodically and do master classes, but it is West African dance, and a lot of my colleagues, we
So
do
beautiful.
things together for with the modern dance and all of that as well. And so we have started to do, when I go out and do some things, I'm starting to do what is called mindful movement, and
Mm.
that's where we're putting in some of the dance and the expressive dance that you're talking about with our regular structured, where you're doing yoga
Yes.
kind of stuff. So that's why I was so excited to bring you
I
to the
love it.
show. Yes,
I
yes.
wanted to be an African dancer so badly. I went to Africa when I was 26 and I
Okay,
studied. I did study and
okay.
I learned so much. I was not very good. I tried. It was so hard. I loved it so much. I did get to do a performance in Kente. It was one of my favorite things that ever happened to me in my life.
Okay.
And then at that point, I was already teaching my dance form. So I remember I met all these amazing. I was in Ghana and we danced with this whole African community, and
Yeah,
they wanted me to teach my dance class. They're like, you teach us your dance class now. We taught you our dance class. I was like, okay.
yeah,
Oh my God, I was so embarrassed because I felt like I was going to be doing something with no steps and no no real rhythm. I mean, African dance requires
different.
so
Yes,
much rhythm and so much competency
different.
and so much physicality and it's just so much strength. And so I danced with them and they were like crying and we had this moment. They're like, you're so free and wild. And I was like, yay. And then we got into our hearts and it was like me teaching mindful movement to the all the people I'd been studying this really hardcore,
Yes,
incredible dance with. It was very, very challenging for me. I was so nervous, but it was so fun and it was life changing for me. And it was my first time I ever went to a funeral where dance was the whole
oh
funeral
yeah,
was all dance. And I was
oh
so amazed. I wrote about it in the book because it just changed my whole view of dance and how dance is really for everything, for expressing grief, for expressing stories, for expressing
yes.
anger, pain, everything, and joy and celebration. It's everything to me.
Yes, and it's a part of transition, our transition ceremony,
Hmm.
with the whole dance and everything. So yeah, so that's good. But Dee, do you have something to say
Well,
to
I
us?
just want to dial back a little bit. Was there a particular, you don't have to say what it was, but an aha moment that you had. You said you were kind of all over the place. You had an eating disorder, you had this, your body, your family, your this.
Yes.
Or just was it a culmination of just all of a sudden, I got to get out of here? Or was there a particular aha moment that that sort of stimulated this whole thing?
There was. I mean, I think it was that dance. It was going to a dance where there were no mirrors, and so there were no expectations of what you had to look like. There was no movement suggestions really. It was more like a free dance situation. And I just had this catharsis, and I came down to the floor and I was in this like child's pose, kind of yoga pose, child's pose on the ground, just touching the earth. And I had this moment of, you are not here for what you think you're here for. You're here to dance. Like, you are a dancer. You're beautiful. You don't you're done with this. Like, I was going to gyms. I was very into, like, I was in the days of Jack LaLanne and Jeff Martin studios. And I was like in New York, like trying to get a spot in all the different studios. And it was like a whole different life. It was so much about like looking good, and it wasn't about feeling good. It was different. And I think that was my big epiphany. And I said, I'm not going to abuse myself anymore. I had been on all these I did so many diets, and it was very part of my culture as well. So many diets, and then I was like, I'm done with this. I'm just going to like really get into my body and really ask my body, what do you need? What do you want to eat? Everything changed. It was like changing on a dime. It was an aha moment of, I am back. I am now in my body. I am not up here. I'm in here. And now I'm going to live from this place instead of from this mind place.
Yeah, that's great because even now, I'll do my maintenance because I know, that I need to get in the gym and do my little strength training because strength training is great as well.
Yes.
But when I really want to get toned and get how I want to, I pull out my African dance tapes and my, all my music and stuff, and I just go to town. And I'm telling you, it does wonders because it's a lot of muscles when we dance, and that's going
Hmm.
from the physical and the physiological way. There's a lot of muscles that we use when we dance that it's like we wake them up. See, it's a
Right.
little bit different than just walking or running, or you're using different muscles that you don't get to use when you're up and dancing, and you're free too, right? It's free, that movement. But I want you to explain to people, because you and I, with the dance background, we know about improv and all that, but what is expressive movement? Explain to folks, exactly what expressive movement is for you.
Well, the way I describe it, I mean, I love what you just were talking about with how much joy comes out just from movement. Like, joy is one of the most important emotions, and that's why I love dancing so much, because we get so much joy to be generated if we're dancing to, like, upbeat, fun, beautiful, gorgeous, like music that just brings that forward. And when you dance with other people, just so much joy happens. And then I call expressive movement when I call it tell your story to the dance floor. So I take a piece of music that's maybe not so joyful, and I let people go into their own dance and say, what do I feel from this music? Like, what's coming forward from me? Today I did a song, about just this beautiful kind of orchestral piece, and you could tell that people, like, they love to have a space of just freedom, just to say, what am I feeling? So expressive movement to me is, what am I feeling, and what is the shape of that? What does it feel like? I could go small, I could go big, I could be this, I could be that. Like, it's like it gives people the freedom to just feel all their emotions and process them in a sense. I feel like we're all trying to digest what's happening in our lives all the time, and we don't really have spaces for that. We have things to do. We got our kids, we have our things, we have our jobs. We don't, when do we take time to just figure out what's going on within us? Maybe we meditate, maybe we go for a walk, but dance can do that. You can put yourself into an altered state through the music. Like, you feel like when you're dancing, it's like you're high, you're in an altered state, or something is happening. It's like, I take people sometimes into the anger. Do you need to express anger today? Like, what are you frustrated about? I won't say, like, go do an anger dance, but I'll say, what does this music bring out in you? If it's frustration, you can go, oh, you can make sound. You can move with your elbows. You can move the space. You can get vigorous. You can let it go. And then maybe I say, what about, is there grief inside of you? Is there a story that needs to be told? My phrase is, tell your story to the dance floor. So I'm not telling them how to be. I'm giving them a place to express. So whatever is going on in your life, you can tap into that and check in and say, what wants to be transmuted today? Like, what's my conflict? What's my struggle? What's my story? What am I telling myself that might actually not be so helpful and useful? Because we have these running tapes. And my belief is, how do we unplug from these tapes, right? We have to first become conscious of them. So if we don't know what they are and they're just running, we can't fix them or change them. So when I say, what would you, and then I do sort of I call it alchemy, where we make a circle, and into the circle we put all of our, all the stuff, our limiting beliefs. Somebody else told us this about ourselves, or this is what someone judges me as, this is what I judge myself as. And we just get all the mental garbage that is not helping us out into the pit, into the circle. Then we do what is like, kind of this journey through the body. What's happening in my heart? What's happening in my voice? Am I expressing myself freely? Like, I ask a lot of questions so people can express themselves and then release, or even if it's just come to realization of what's happening, they become empowered. As soon as you know what you're doing to yourself, you have power over it. If you
Yeah.
don't know, then it's just unconscious, and then it just continues. If that
Yeah.
makes any sense. That's what I'm trying to do with people, is help them become more conscious. That's why they call it conscious dance now, the whole form that
Yes.
I sit under. Journey
Yeah.
dance is a conscious dance form. And I like that term when you use it in the awareness area. Like, how do I become more aware of me and like work on myself? Because I really believe that whatever we are doing to ourselves is what we are seeing outside of ourselves, right? So if I'm in a lot of conflict, I must be really hard on myself a lot. If I'm in a
Right.
lot of love, I must be really loving to myself, right? It's like the more
Yeah.
loving I can be to myself, the more love I'm going to just be feeling and doing. That's what I'm hoping for.
So
Yes.
one of your I on one of your interviews, maybe speak to this. You talked about how you use the dance floor itself as your, I don't know, I can't remember how you described it, but you said you use the dance floor as that's your world, that's your
Hmm.
space, that's your, maybe can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I call it, tell your story, the dance floor. The dance floor is like talking to the universe, talking to spirit, talking to the space. Like, it's actually, to me, the dance floor could be like talking to my therapist. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's like having something that is holding me, that is listening to me and letting me express myself to it, and taking up more space than I usually do, or going into a ball like I never do, things like that. Like, we get to just express and explore different parts of ourselves in this like container of the dance floor. That's the way I describe it, if that makes sense. It's like
Yeah.
the dance floor is like my canvas. And
Yes.
dance, what I love about dance, it's like the ethereal art form. It always disappears. Like, as soon as I make the movement, it's gone. You saw it and now it's gone. So it's like, oh, should I do that again, or should I do something different? It's like this ever evolving communication art form, in a sense.
Yes. And then it's how you interpret. So, with that said, then
Mm,
if we do uh your work, so you are in embodiment of movement.
mm-hmm,
You embody your movement and you want us to do that. Okay. So, what does that truly mean when it comes to healing? You say it gives us power, uh,
mm-hmm.
it gives us self discovery. So, how does it help
Yes.
with all that and healing?
So, a lot of people come to the dance floor, with, everyone comes with their own history, right? We come with our history, we bring it to the space. And if there's a lot of trauma or pain in there around the body, it's a little bit, people can be tender and not want to show up, or um, what's the word, shut down. Either, just shut down completely and be in a space of, um, how do I say it? Like disassociation from the body, where they just can't be in their body because it's too painful. So
Uh-huh.
journey dance, I hope, will help people titrate, back into the body. So let's say rolling around the floor is so scary, because, rolling around the floor is very freeing, but if you don't feel safe, so starting maybe those people standing and just moving and finding their hands and finding their wrists, finding their elbows, like looking at your body and starting to slowly come back into it. Because what happens in trauma, the general rule is that we disassociate. So something happens in the physical body, we can't handle it in the moment, we compartmentalize it, pack it away, and then live our lives forward, hoping that it will never come up again, right? And then it comes up in weird ways that we can't control because we weren't able to process it through the body. Maybe in the mind we can process it, we can talk the stories, which are great, and therapy is absolutely amazing, and working with coaches and shamans and healers and everybody and all the new things that are out there can help us. And then coming to the body and maybe feeling good. For some people, if just feeling good is going to be the starter, and they're going to go to many different dance forms and really learn to feel good in their body. And I think Journey Dance has like an entry point for that, because it's kind of one of my Journey Dance teachers. He's from Mexico, and he talks about social healing that happens during Journey Dance, because we interact. Like, I come over to you and I dance with you. Like today I was teaching and I was like, just look, eye contact, and be this person's mirror and say, in the mirror, what do I see? Oh, I see joy. Oh, I see power. I see amazingness. I see beauty. I see, and all the dancers are different and everyone's doing something different. And it's just so fun to see the aliveness of each person, which we don't normally let ourselves see in our normal walking around life. We're just kind of, hi, how are you? We don't really get to know people on this kind of visceral level. So
Yeah.
that's my idea
I
for
was
that.
going to ask,
Yeah.
just taking that a little bit. So, dance is a group sort of therapy thing, but have you ever had, can you think back, and again, you don't have to talk about specifics, but where you had a student that came to you and clearly after working with you, whether it was weeks, months, that you felt that you made a significant transformation in that person's life through dance?
Absolutely. I mean, the first person that comes to my mind is very close. I'm close to them at this point. Um, this beautiful being had been through some serious trauma as a child, like very stuff that I wouldn't even want to say on a podcast to traumatize anybody hearing it. But if you heard the story, you would not be happy. And then they came, and over probably 2 or 3 years of doing many different programs, lots of crying, lots of processing, lots of being held by other women in the container, lots of support, really has completely shifted and is now teaching and is in a relationship and is experiencing joy in their life and having like a relationship, which they never had, and they're in their 60s. And they told me that they couldn't have done it without the movement and the way we hold the space, which is a certain kind of psychological overlay over the thing. So if I say, tell your story to the dance floor, she got to let her little girl come out and be seen in a safe container, right, of the dance, because no one knows what you're doing, only you. That's the thing about it. It's kind of, we're not talking, so no one knows what you're doing if I say, tell your story to the dance floor. So she's bringing her little girl back to life over all these years until she brought her fully back and was able to like embrace. I have a dance where I say, like, hold your inner child, or something like that, or hold your heart, whatever it is. And maybe it's your little one, and you slowly bring it into your heart, or many different visualizations where people really start to connect back into themselves. So that's one person who, and there's many of those stories. And that's why I'm still doing it, right? I wouldn't be doing it if it
Right.
wasn't really like helping somebody.